Is everybody able to see the screen?
Yeah.
Yes, pretty much.
Okay. Bala means Balakrishna, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sure. Okay.
We are in business benefits of SAP GTS slide, right?
Yes, Chikri, correct.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. As part of our previous session, that which was conducted on day before yesterday, we have covered half of the overview of SAP GTS. That means like we try to explain or go through like what is SAP GTS and what are the different modules of SAP GTS, and among all the modules we try to discuss, or we have covered what is compliance management and what kind of regulations will be supported by the compliance management. So what we can do as part of today's session, we will continue to discuss the overview of SAP GTS module. So before I get into the continuation to the previous class, I just wanted to revise what we have covered the last overview session. Okay. So as part of the previous overview session which we have taken the day before yesterday, we have discussed about the importance of SAP GTS and what made
Hello?
SAP. Hello?
Balak, Venkat, can you just mute everybody else?
Sure. Okay. So we have discussed the importance of SAP GTS, and also we have discussed the motive behind introducing the SAP GTS by the SAP ERP company. So that means we try to understand what made SAP to introduce SAP GTS, even though there was ECC SD foreign trade or ECC foreign trade. So as you know that, as you are all aware of that, we have SAP ECC SD foreign trade, and also we have SAP ECC foreign trade. So the SD foreign trade is taken care by is supporting export activities of any company, and the foreign trade is supporting import activities of any business. So we as part of a previous class we discussed about how SAP GTS help the companies more better way than the SAP ECC foreign trade of both the modules. And as part of today's class, what we can do, we can continue to discuss about the business benefits of SAP GTS. That means the advantages of SAP GTS if any company implements SAP to their client or SAP to their business. So, and also how SAP GTS will be helpful to companies to taking care of import activities or the export activities. So that means in general what happens whenever you are doing an export or whenever you are doing an import, so generally what happens, there is always there is a risk of, or there is always some kind of pressure on any companies to participate in the international business or international trade. So pressure in the sense, so generally if it is domestic business, you will not be having any trouble. You will not be facing any issues. So simply you can identify the customer and you can start sending the goods or billing the goods or delivering the goods, whatever it is. But whereas when it comes to the SAP, when it comes to the international trade, it is not that much simple to do an export or to do an import. So as part of international trade, as part of international business, that means as part of involving in the international business. So a client or a business company need to face so many regulations, need to fulfill so many documentation requirements, or need to face so many regulations. If you remember correctly, we have discussed a couple of regulations which are prevailed in the international trade or international business. So can anybody tell me what kind of regulations are available, what kind of regulations are prevailing in international trade, whether it is as part of import or as part of export? What kind of rules or what kind of regulations have been introduced by the customs authorities of the respective countries? Ashish, can you just explain a couple of regulations what you remember based on previous class discussion?
Yeah, basically, if you look into the exports, a lot of export documentation and legal requirements, as well as certain products which are need to be exported to certain parties, that all checks needs to be done while exporting the product or importing the product from a different country.
Yes, yes. So any other regulations? There are other two important regulations which we have discussed in the previous class, and which and also which we spent a lot of time on those two regulations. Other than these two regulations, as Ashish explained that regulations about taking care of the documentation requirements. So as everybody knows, whenever you are participating in export business or whenever you are participating in the import business, what happens? You are supposed to submit different declaration documents. That means you need, for example, if you are exporting from US to Canada, or if you are exporting US to Mexico, or if you are exporting US to Germany, what needs to be done? So you have to submit legal documents or the legal messages like certificate of origin, commercial invoice, or packing list, or the shipper's export declaration, or the shipper's letter of instruction. Like this, different documents have to be submitted to the authorities while you are exporting any product from US to Canada. In the similar way, if any company who is doing business in US is trying to import a product from Canada, again they are supposed to submit other documents, other legal documents. So that means what is the base funda we can understand based on this. So as part of your import or export, you need to submit different declarations or different documents to the customs authorities. That is documentation requirements, the complex documentation requirements. That means there is so much risk involving in identifying the relevant documents and preparing the documents and sending the documents to the authorities. And the second regulation what was explained by the Ashish, that was taking care of the product. So that means whenever you are importing or whenever you are exporting a product, generally what happens? So definitely the product which is being exported need to make sure whether the product got license or not, whether the product is assigned with any license or not. So before license, if you want to assign a license or if you want to determine a license for a product, if you would like to determine a license for a product, what needs to be done? First of all, the product has to be classified. So what is the classification again? The classification is the process of assigning import control classification number or export control classification number. So that means whenever you are talking about the license, whenever you are start discussing about the license for a product, what do we need to what are the prerequisites? Before you identify the license for a product, before you identify the license for a product, there are few prerequisites what you have to fulfill. Those are, you have to classify the product. What is the classification? Classification is the process of assigning ECCN number or ICCN number or commodity codes or schedule B number. Assignment of these numbers to the product is called as classification. Once the product is classified, then your GTS system is in a position, to identify what kind of license is required for a product. So that means basically you need to take care of licensing activities. That is second legal regulation. We also discussed as part of previous session two more regulations which are very important. Okay, I will give the clue What is SPL? What is
Sanction party
SPL?
list screening.
Asif?
The sanction party list in the embargo
Party list
check.
screening.
Excellent. So the other two regulations, what we have discussed in the previous session, those are like, sanction party list screening or embargo screening. So what is the sanction party list? So the sanction party list is a list of members. Sanction party list is a list of members who are identified as a blocked members, who are identified as a bad members, who are identified as a denied members, or who are identified as a prohibited members. That means sanction party list is the list of members who are identified as a blocked members or who are identified as a prohibited members. That means if any country is publishes sanction party list, so take an example of country Germany. If Germany identifies like a list of 5,000 blocked members, what does it mean? If Germany identifies or if the Germany publishes 5,000 members as a sanction party list members, then what does it mean? That means the companies in Germany should not do any export to these members or should not import any goods from these members. So that means whenever any country publishes a list of blocked members, what needs to be done? So you need your company, if your Germany country like publishes a blocked members list of 5,000 members, then what is the responsibility of your company? If your company is located in Germany, if you are doing business in the Germany, what is the responsibility? So as part of sanction party list publication, you need to make sure under any circumstances you are not sending any product to the customers who are under the sanction party list. In the similar way, as part of your import, you need to make sure you are not receiving any product from the list of blocked members. So that is, as part of sanction party list, what we will do, as part of sanction party list, we will make sure that our customers does not belong to, we will make sure that our customers or our vendors, we will make sure that our customers or the vendor does not match with, or our customers do not match with the sanction party list members. So that is like, the sanction party list screening.
Yeah, one question. So if Germany or any country for that matter releases a list of customers with whom you need to do business or you should not do the business, then obviously you need to update the sanction party list.
Excellent.
Now, the point is,
okay.
the point is, now how to, is it the updation of the sanction party list, is it kind of a conflict that you need to move into the GTS server?
No. Actually, it's a very good question. Basically, what happens? So, whenever after implementing the SAP GTS module to your company or to your client, what you need to do? So, you have to approach few third-party data providers. There are different third-party data providers in the international trade. So, as part of your day-to-day business, you need to receive the list of blocked members. The list of, generally what happens, if Germany publishes list of blocked members with 5,000 members, so the Germany authorities will not give those lists to the companies. Directly they never give those lists to the companies. But what happens? When the Germany publishes that list, that list will be circulated to the data providers. There are third-party data providers. The German authorities will provide that list to the data provider, and the company or the client who is implementing GTS, these companies need to contact the third-party data providers. For example, who are the data providers? Who are the major data providers, or who are the popular data providers? So there is a data provider called FedEx, Federal Express. FedEx is the one of the major data provider who will supply the who will provide list of blocked members to the company. Not only GTS implemented companies. Whichever is the company is participating in the international trade, so they need to make sure they need to receive a list of the blocked members and they need to screen their customers against this blocked list members. So the FedEx is one of the major data provider, and also we have one more data provider, MK Denial, MK Data or MK Denial. And other than this FedEx and MK Data, we have one more data provider called Customs Info. So these are the three major data providers who supplies list of blocked members or list of sanctioned party members, list of sanctioned party members or list of blocked members or list of denied party members or list of prohibited parties. The concept is same, but only naming conventions are different. But in our SAP terminology, we call that list as sanctioned party list. Whenever you heard about what is a sanctioned party list, it is nothing but list of blocked members, list of denied parties, or list of prohibited parties. So once you receive that list, okay, as the question raised by Chakri, once you receive the list from the data providers, you know what do you need to do? You need to upload the sanctioned party list to your GTS system. You need to upload the sanctioned party list members to the GTS system. So once that list is available, what happens? Whenever you create as you are all aware of that, I already explained you, as part of GTS module, we always need a feeder system. Whether it is ECC or any other non-ERP or a non-SAP, whatever it is, the SAP GTS needs some feeder system, because we never create any sales order in SAP GTS, we never create any delivery directly in the GTS, or we never create any billing document in the GTS system. But where do we create? We create a sales order in the ECC system, or we create a delivery in the ECC system, or we create a billing document in the ECC system as part of export. And also as part of import, what we do? We create a purchase order in the ECC system. We create an inbound delivery in the ECC system. And also we perform a goods receipt process in the ECC system. In the similar way, we create vendor payment or invoice verification, we perform in the ECC system. Whenever you perform these kind of transactions in the ECC system, what happens? So if you remember correctly, what happens is whenever a sales order is created in the ECC system, the sales order will be transferred to the GTS system. Then the GTS system creates a custom document automatically, but provided doing the configuration. It's simply not created, but what we need to do, if you want to create GTS system a custom document automatically for a sales order which transferred from the ECC to GTS, what do we need to do? You need to do some kind of configuration related to the organizational mapping or some kind of document type mapping. You need to do some kind of configuration in the background. Then whenever a sales order is created in the ECC system, once the sales order is transferred to the GTS system will create custom document at sales document level. And also when you create a outbound delivery, when the outbound delivery transferred to the GTS system, again the GTS system will create a custom document at the delivery document level. And whenever you create a pro forma invoice or the billing document, what happens? The GTS system creates customs export declaration. And what happens whenever a custom document is created in the GTS system? So now I am coming back to, you created a sales order, and the sales order has transferred to the GTS system with the help of RFC connection. I hope you remember, I explained you that the ECC system and the GTS system are connected with RFC setup. So the basis team establishes a connection between SAP ECC system to the GTS system. So with the help of that RFC setup, what happens? Whatever you create from the ECC system will be automatically transferred to the GTS system in the synchronous mode. Synchronous mode means real time. The moment you save the sales order in the ECC system, in a fraction of seconds, the sales order will be transferred to the GTS system, and based on the background configuration setup what you perform, the GTS system will create a custom document. What happens a custom document create? When a custom document create in the GTS system for a sales order, what happens? Did anybody remember? Or did we not cover? Okay.
What did you say?
I'm asking a question. What happens when a sales order transferred to the GTS system, and as you know that GTS system will create a custom document. Once the custom document is created, so there are some activities like taken care by the GTS system. What kind of there are different kind of screenings will be performed by the GTS system.
That is the SPL screening, embargo check screening.
Excellent. That's what I'm expecting. So basically, whenever a sales order created in the ECC system and the sales order transferred to the GTS system, what happens? The GTS system creates a custom document, and also it starts screening. It starts performing screening of the sanction party list. That is sanction party list screening. That means what it will do as part of sanction party list screening. So as part of sanction party list screening, it takes the customer name and the customer address data from the sales order. So first what you are doing, you are creating a sales order, and the sales order transferred to the GTS. Then the GTS system creates a custom document, and whenever the custom document is created, then the GTS system start performing the sanction party list screening. As part of sanction party list screening, what it will do, it takes the the business partners or the customers in the custom document and compare and start screening. Once it identifies, for example, the sales order what I created is having the customer name Venkat, and when the sales order transferred to the GTS system, what happens? The GTS system creates a custom document where the Venkat is also the customer. Venkat is also customer in the custom document. And then what is the responsibility of the sanction party list screening? The sanction party list screening takes the name of the Venkat and also finds Venkat address details, and it starts screening whether Venkat name and the Venkat address, is matching with any of the sanction party list members. So I hope you remember, right? So we already updated we already uploaded, we already maintained, or we already uploaded the sanction party list members. That is all the bad members, all the denied party members we already updated in the GTS system. Then what happens? It takes the name of the Venkat and takes the address details of the Venkat and start screening with the all the business partner address, all the sanction party list address, and also all the sanction party list names. By chance, I don't know, by any reason, if Venkat name or Venkat address is matching with any of the sanction party list members, then what GTS system will do? The GTS system will put a block. The GTS system gives a block to the custom document, which is having the customer whose name is matching with the sanction party list. Then once the document is blocked, the complaints management users, or the GTS users, they will every day 3 to 4 times they monitor all the blocked documents, and they validate whether it is real block or any kind of system is inappropriate blocks are there. So it identifies what kind of reason it is having to block the document and takes the necessary action. So this way the sanction party screening will happen. So whenever a transaction happens in the ECC system. So the same
can you implement now you said an example where a sales order is created and a custom document is equally created in SAP GTS. Now can you implement the same, suppose, in a subsequent stage like at the delivery document stage?
Yes, Chikri. You know what happened?
there at that point of time yeah.
Yes, yes. We can perform the sanction party screening, at order level, delivery level, that is sales order level, outbound delivery level, and also we can perform the sanction party screening for a purchase order and the inbound delivery level. We can perform the sanction party screening, or we can perform the embargo screening, or we can perform license screening at all these 4 transaction levels. But when it comes to like custom billing document or goods receipt, what happens? So you will not be doing any kind of other things because you already started issuing the you might have already finished the goods issue process. So that's why when it comes to the billing document or the pro forma invoice, or when it comes to the from the MM side, you are not depending on the vendor invoice, you are only depending on the goods receipt process. Whenever you receive it, whenever you perform a goods receipt, what happens? There is a document called a material document. The ECC system creates material document for every goods receipt, and the material document will be transferred to the GTS system. When a material document from the ECC to GTS system transferred, then the GTS system creates a custom import declaration. Then a material document which is created against a goods receipt transferred to the GTS system, then the GTS system will create a custom import declaration. In the similar way, whenever you create a billing document to the customer, whenever you create a billing document to the customer, what happens? The billing document will be transferred to the GTS system, and then the SAP GTS system will create a custom export declaration, and from the customs export declaration, all the relevant messages or all the relevant output types will be transferred to the customs office. You got it, agree? Like when the sanction party screening happens, when the embargo screening happens, or when the license checking happens. Okay. So this is what we have discussed in the previous class, and we will continue to discuss the benefits of SAP GTS. The first of all, the SAP, after implementing SAP GTS, the first benefit what you can achieve is you can reduce risk of the non-compliance. So I hope many of you are aware of it. Compliance means accepting a rule or obeying the rule or obeying the regulation. That means whenever authorities says that whenever authorities state a rule or state a regulation that you are not supposed to send a product to member called XYZ. If you are able to screen your customer and if you make sure that your goods are not sending to the customer XYZ, then you will be under the compliance. By mistake and due to lack of sufficient technology, I don't know, by knowingly or unknowingly, if you try to send a goods to the customer who is under the blocked list, then what happens? It is nothing but you will be under the non-compliance because you are not able to follow the rule. You are not able to obey the regulation. You are not able to accept the regulation given by the authorities. So that means whenever you implement SAP GTS to your client, what happens? So there is always possibility of non-compliance is very less. That means you can reduce the risk of non-compliance. So that means you will be always under the compliance unless and until in a very worst case you will be always in the compliance. That means so that whenever you are implementing SAP GTS to your client, you can reduce the risk of non-compliance. So what kind of activities you can perform as part of business, as part of export and import business? You can perform sanction party list screening, or you can perform embargo screening, or you can perform license screening. So if you have a system in place, like SAP GTS, what happens? The GTS system will take care of screening your customer. The GTS system will take care of screening your vendor. The GTS system will take care of screening your forwarding agent or whoever is participating in the business. Everybody will be screened by the sanction party list screening process. And also as part of your embargo screening process, you will be screening the list of blocked countries. As you know that the sanction party list screening will take care of all the list of blocked members, and the embargo screening will take care of all the list of blocked countries. And also your legal control and import and export will take care of license screening. So whenever you implement SAP GTS, so there is very less risk of the non-compliance, because all the functionalities available in the SAP GTS will take care of screening the customer, will take care of screening the blocked customer, or taking care of screening the blocked countries, or taking care of license determination of the license screening. So in that way, what we can do, we can reduce the risk of the non-compliance. So that is the first benefit. And the second one is classifying the products. So basically, as I already explained you, as part of import and export, what you will do. So generally, we need to send a product or we need to receive a product. So whenever you are intended to receive a product or whenever you are intended to send a product, what needs to be done? So first of all, you need to make sure whether your product requires any license or not, or whether you are able to export for a given product or not. Because by looking at the product name, so you are not sure whether this product can be exported or this product can be imported, or whether a product require a license or not, or even one step forward, you are also not sure what kind of duty you need to pay for a product A or what kind of duty you need to pay for a product B. So that means by looking at the name of the product, the description of the product, we never know what kind of nature the product is having, or what kind of product attributes that product is having. So that what needs to be done, especially when it comes to the as part of international trade, so there is always need to assign, export control classification number or import control classification number or commodity codes or tariff codes, that is harmonized tariff codes, HTS codes, or FDA numbers, that is Food and Drug Association number, or CAP number, Common Agricultural Product number. Like this, there are many different classification numbers available in international trade. Based on their product nature, you are responsible to assign all these products to all these numbers. You are responsible to assign all these numbers to the product. So how can you assign? So if you don't have a proper technique in place, so it is very difficult to assign all those numbers to the product. For example, if you have 10 products, if you have 100 products, so maybe 10 to 100 products, maybe you can sit for one day or you can sit for 1 or 2 days. You can do some manual work where in which or where you can assign the classification numbers to the product. But whereas in the companies like Microsoft or Bosch or some kind of big companies, it is definitely not possible to assign or to perform manual classification. What you can do? So if it is an ECC side, if you have any kind of mass uploading or mass update kind of thing, you need to use LSNW or you need to use ECAT or you need to use BDC programs like that. But whereas in which you need to take care of technical team help. You need to depend on the technical team if any code is required or any kind of complexity is involved. But when it comes to the GTS, for performing the product classification, you don't need to depend on any technical team or you don't need to depend on any development team to create a to use LSMW or to use ECAT or to use BDC. What you can do? You can use the functionality called product classification. You can use a functionality called product classification, which is given by the SAP GTS module. What it will do? The product classification helps the companies, the product classification support the companies to classify the products by assigning the different standardized codes, standardized numbers. So as part of product classification, what happens? You can select, if you know, for example, if you know there are 100 products which require a classification number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is a classification number an ECCN number called 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you have a requirement to assign that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 classification number to the 100 products, what you can do simply in the easy access, that is called as GTS area menu. In the GTS area menu, you can select all 100 products at one time and you can assign this number. You don't need to assign individual products at one time. You can select all 100 products at one time and assign this number, so that the same number will be updated to the 100 products. So this kind of classification is very easy with the help of SAP GTS implementation. So that means the first benefit of SAP GTS implementation is we can reduce the risk of the non-compliance. That means we can make sure that we are doing the business with the right people, or we are receiving the products from the right vendor. In the similar way, with the help of SAP GTS, we will make sure that we can perform the product classification in an easy way. So the product classification will be very easy when you are classifying the product. And coming to the next one. So meet complex documentation requirements. As Ashish already explained, so when you are involving, when you are participating in international trade, whether it is export or import, what is required? So you are obligated, you are required to submit a list of legal documents, a list of legal output documents to the customs authorities. So as part of submitting the documents to the customs authorities, if you are doing business with one country or one or two customers, what happens? Simply you can assign that work to a person who is familiar with the process. For example, if you have an employee called Robert, so what you can say, Robert, we are sending the products to these two customers who are residing in the Canada, so please take care of necessary documents. Or in another case, in contrast to that, for example, if you are doing the business with n number of customers with the n number of countries, what happens? So taking care of or identifying the documentation requirements, for each country, it is very difficult. So do you feel that each country requires same legal document? Do you feel let's say all the countries require same kind of documentation requirement, or you feel that the documentation requirement from one country to other country is different? How do you feel? Maybe Balakrishna, what is your opinion? I will put my question in this way. Let me put in a different way. My company is ABC Group of Industries. My company is having the business set up in US. As part of my business, I am exporting products to Germany. I am also exporting product to Canada. I am also exporting product to South Africa. So do you feel that? So do we need to submit same kind of document for all these three countries, or the documentation requirements can be changed?
Because it is different countries, so we should make different categories of documents, because based on the requirement, country to country, the documentation will be different, right?
Yes, you are correct. So that means whenever there is a need of identifying the document requirement based on the country to country, what will happen? Definitely, if you depend on a manual work, if you depend on the manual work, or if you depend on different your team members, definitely there is always possibility of possibility of doing the mistakes, or you may not able to identify the correct documents for the correct country. So, but what happens if you implement? What happens if you implement SAP GTS? You know what happens? The based on departure country, based on the departing country, and also the based on destination country. So the GTS system will help you to identify all the required documents. If you just do the configuration in the background, if you do the configuration in the background once, what happens? So whenever you are creating a customs export declaration, So based on the departing country, which is available in the like export declaration, and also based on the destination country, which is available in the like customs export declaration, what will happen? The export declaration document or the GTS system will trigger all the required documents in the export declaration document output. Like, for example, if you do the output determination properly for a billing document, or if you perform the output determination for a delivery document, what happens? The moment when you save a delivery document, the moment when you save a billing document, what happens? The ECC system can trigger all the relevant outputs. So for example, if you want to send output to the customer XYZ, if you want to send output to the ABC, the system will identify. In the similar way, whenever you create a customs export declaration or whenever you create a customs import declaration, based on the configuration setup which you already completed, the GTS system will identify, or the GTS system will trigger all output messages or all output types, all legal output types in the export declaration document or in the customs import declaration document. Then what does it mean? When you implement the SAP GTS, your your GTS system will be taking care of the complex documentation requirements. So that is the reason we can use SAP GTS to sending the messages to the customs authorities based on the configuration setup. You don't need to worry about it. The system itself can tell you. The system itself will display all the relevant documents. Then you can just have a look at one time and you can start executing, or you can start resending the document, or you can start sending by manual trigger. But the GTS system will display all the relevant messages for a export declaration from US to Canada or from US to Germany. So that is taking care of the complex documentation requirements. And the next one is handling the electronic communication. So basically, if you, okay, let me ask the question. Maybe Deepak, if you want to send a document, in general, if you want to send a communication to me, what kind of method you can use? For example, if I ask you send some information, so what are the different ways to communicate to send a communication to me? Deepak, you are on mute. You can unmute and talk. Okay. Basically, we can, as part of, when it comes to the communication, what you can do, you can use an email, or you can use a fax, or you can use a print copy, or you can also send an IDOC. So that means, so as part of communication, that means your company is ABC Group of Industries. You are sending an export from US to Canada. So as part of sending an export to US to Canada, what needs to be done? You already understood that you need to provide some documentation. You need to provide a list of documents. So as part of sending the list of documents to the authorities, so how can you send? The first way of sending the communication to the customs authorities is you can send a printout. You can take a printout, and the printout document can be sent through your truck driver. The driver who is carrying the goods can carry the printout documents. Or if you are depending on the printout, what happens? If any mistake is identified by the customs authorities, what happens? The driver may need to call back to the what I can say, your company, and your company needs to send one more document to other person or any other kind of communication. That means basically you can use a printout, or if at all you want to use an email, you can send an email as an attachment, or you can also send a fax. So that means there are different kind of communication available as part of communicating with the customs authority. And other than these three communications, we have a communication called IDOC. Is a intermediary document. So what happens with the help of IDOC? So you don't need to send any fax, you don't need to send any email, or you don't need to send any printout. So if you configure the system, or if you set up a connection between your GTS system to the customs authorities, if you set up a connection, or if you set up if you establish a connection, between an SAP GTS system to the customs system, what happens? You don't need to use any other kind of method. You can simply trigger an IDOC from your export declaration, and then automatically an IDOC will be transferred to the customs authority with the required information. Based on that, even before your truck reaches to the customs authorities, what happens? They can start fulfilling some kind of preliminary investigation. So based on the IDOC, they can find out to which customer or to whom they are sending the goods. Whether this customer is good or bad, they can perform that. And also, based on the information in the IDOC, they can look at to which country these people are exporting, and they can check whether this country is under the embargo or not. And also, they can see what product these people are exporting, whether this product requires any license or not. If it requires any license, whether this product is already classified or not. If classified, what kind of license is required? Okay, if customs authorities identify a license XYZ is required, what they will do, whether XYZ license is assigned to the product or not. So this way, the customs authorities start performing the preliminary investigation. And once your goods received to the custom premises, they will do the additional screening activities. So that means whenever you implement SAP GTS, what happens? You can handle the communication electronically. So which is very easy and which is also very effective and speedy communication. So you can avoid the errors and you can avoid the manual errors, or you can having the speedy communication with your custom authorities. That means by implementing the SAP GTS, what we can do, we can use electronic communication as part of your daily as part of your daily transactions with the customs authorities or any kind of third party member. And the next one is,
can you also implement is it XML is also integrated with GTS?
Actually what happens, XML, we are not sending any XML communication outside, but you remember, right, initially we were talking about uploading the sanction party list. Okay, you asked a question that where do you get the sanction party list? I told you that the sanction party list will be provided by the data provider, third party data providers like MK Data, FedEx, or what is the next data provider like who is it?
Customs Info.
Customs Info. So these three people, what they do, they will send the list of members in the XML form, in the XML format. The file, the data the sanction party list member files are always sending to the GTS system in the XML format. So that means to upload a list of sanction party list members to the GTS system, the file should be XML format. That means if the file is sending by the FedEx, they should only send in the XML format. If the file is going to be sent by the FedEx, they should only send in the XML format. Even if MK Denial or MK Data or Customs Info, everybody should send the list of sanction party members in the XML file, because to upload the data to the GTS system, the GTS system is accept only XML file. So that is why we are using the XML file to retrieve the data from the third party data provider. But as part of communication, we have email communication, printout, fax, or smart form, and finally we have IDOC communication. This is the communication what we can do for communicating with the authority. Okay, Sikri?
Okay.
And the next benefit is that is make the most international agreements. Okay, before we discuss like in detail about this, we need to understand what is like trade agreement. So anybody have any idea on like what is trade agreement? Okay, basically a trade
The agreements
agreement.
which are made between the countries to facilitate trade.
Excellent, excellent. The thing.
Hello?
Yes, Ashish, you are correct. A trade agreement is an agreement between like a group of countries to facilitate like the business activities where with reduce to facilitate the business transactions with reduced tax or reduced duty or by duty exemption as well. That means, so generally what happens, these trade agreements will be like initiated by the countries who are geographically very close. In general, these trade agreements are initiated or the trade agreements are established by the countries who are geographically very close to each other. For example, take an example of NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement. It is an agreement between like America, Canada, and Mexico. What all those three countries did? Those three countries come forward and established a zone called Free Trade Zone, that is Free Trade Agreement. As per that agreement, if you import, for example, a company in the US import any spare part or any raw material from the country like Canada, what happens? The person who is importing in the US may not need to pay much duty or much like tax, or sometimes he may not to pay any like the product may be duty exempted. So that means like this, like NAFTA, we do have different trade agreements. We do have different free trade agreements. Those are European Union. So European Union is one of the free trade agreements which was like established by like 27 countries of Europe, like France, Austria, like Germany, and and other countries. In a similar way, we also have one more free trade agreement, like European Free Trade Agreement, EFTA. It is an agreement between like three countries of Europe. So like this, we have like different free trade agreements. So different free trade agreements between the different countries who are very close to, who are very like geographically close to each other. So as part of this like free trade agreement, what did you understand? When you are like importing a product or you are exporting a product, basically you are eligible to get a preference. That means you are liable or you are eligible to get some kind of preference. So whenever you are eligible to get a preference, like by doing the like import or export in the free trade zone, so what do you need to do? You need to identify the preference. Am I correct, Ashish? So what do we need to do? There is a need of identifying the preference. What preference you are going to get, you are supposed to get. What preference you are supposed to get by importing a product from Canada to US, or what preference you are supposed to get by importing a product from Mexico to US. So if you depend like if you start performing, if you start identifying the preference manually, what will happen? So there is always like risk of mistakes, or it's very burden to the like people. So if you implement SAP GTS, to your client, what happens? The GTS module automatically determine what preference you are supposed to get. The GTS module automatically calculate what preference you are supposed to get when you do an import from the US to Canada, or from the US to Mexico, or from Mexico to Canada. So the GTS system have the like capability of performing. The GTS system is having the capability of performing like determination of the preferences. So that is why like with the help of SAP GTS implementation, we can identify, we can calculate, we can determine the preference what is supposed to get by doing like by participating import or exporting a free trade zone countries or free trade zone agreement. That is the like make the most international agreement. And the final one is
Venkat, one question. Like you prepare licenses for this, you will be preparing agreements in GTS?
basically what happens, like, you need to set up or we need to configure in the system, like, by using procurement indicators and what is the departing country and what is the destination country, and also you need to prepare a document called a certificate of origin. There is a document called certificate of origin which has to provided to the, like, an importing person by the exporting company. The exporting person, the person who is exporting to the importing country or importing customer, you need to provide a certificate of origin stating that the goods are coming from the US to Canada, so that the importer will provide that certificate of origin to the Canadian authorities stating that, so this is the proof that I am importing from US, which is in the free trade zone. Give me the discount. So that kind of, like, configuration is needed in the background, but you also, like, do some kind of agreement as part of your configuration, and based on, like, these all procurement indicators, all the based on certificate of origin and this agreement, the system can automatically identify the preference. The system automatically calculate the preference. It's not license kind of thing. The license you need to maintain as a, like, as a record. You maintain license as a, like, price kind of record. But whereas agreements, it's different concept. We will discuss about, in detail as part of the principle.
Agreement would be more of a dynamic tool.
Yes, yes.
Right, that agreement would be more of a dynamic tool.
Yes, Ashish.
Okay.
And the final one is mitigating the financial risk. Okay. Before we, like, detail, like, discuss in detail, let us take a scenario. Let us take a scenario. For example, like, if you are doing a business with the domestic customers, what happens regarding the payment? Like, regarding the payment, like, the amount what you are supposed to get from the customer, you will not be having much risk, because, like, the customer, like, geographically in the same country or maybe the same state or maybe the same city or whatever it is. If the customer is located, like, in the same country zone or in the same state, whatever it is, what happens, like, if the customer is, like, unable to pay, or, it's not paying the money, you can send a person or you can go legally to get the money from your customers. But whereas whenever you are whenever you are sending a product to the, like, customer who is residing, like, other country which is geographically very, like, far, and also where you do not have any control. Definitely, like, if the customer is located in a different country, you are not having any control in getting the payment unless and until you use some kind of, like, other techniques. So that means, what I mean to say, as part of import or as part of export, there is always a risk of, like, what I can say, there is always, like, a chance of financial risk. That means you may get the payment. That means you may receive the payment or you may not able to receive the payment. Both can be. If the customer is good, he can pay the money. If the customer is, like, not good, what happens? You cannot do anything other than simply, like, leaving the matter. You cannot do anything. So because of this reason, what needs to be done? So because of this financial risk, what needs to be done? So you need to make sure that, you are using some kind of technique to reduce the risk of financial matters, or to reduce the risk of, like, financial issues. So as part of this, what happened, even not in SAP GTS, even in general export business or import business, there is a process called letter of credit. There is a process called letter of credit. So what the letter of credit does? Basically, a letter of credit is a guarantee document. A letter of credit is a surety document, or a letter of credit is a guarantee document which is issued to the exporter, by a bank on behalf of the importer. For example, I am the exporter, Ashish is the importer. So what Ashish needs to be done before I send goods to the Ashish? What Ashish needs to be done? Ashish need to approach a bank called State Bank of India or State Bank of Hyderabad, whatever it is. What Ashish needs to be done? He need to approach the bank and he need to inform to the bank, please provide a guarantee document to the to the person called Venkat. So to whom I am receiving the goods. If you provide a guarantee document to the Venkat, what Venkat will do? Venkat is able to send the deliver the goods, or Venkat is able to issue the goods to me. Then what happens? Based on the request received by the Ashish, the Bank of Bank of America or the State Bank of India will issue a guarantee document to the Venkat. The moment Venkat receives the guarantee document from the bank, what happens? Venkat happily can deliver the goods to the Ashish, because he is already having a surety document. If Ashish fails to pay the money, or Ashish is not able to respond after the time, simply the Venkat will be dealing with the bank who already provided a guarantee document. So that means even in general business, import or export business, there is a process called letter of credit. Letter of credit is a guarantee document, or a letter of credit is a surety document, which is issued by the bank to the exporter on behalf of importer. The bank will give a guarantee document to the exporter on behalf of the importer. So the same letter of credit process, which is prevailing in the international business, that is import or export, the SAP GTS has come up solution called the same thing, the same letter of credit process. You can implement the same letter of credit process. You can implement using the SAP GTS. That means with the help of SAP GTS module, what we can do, we can implement, or we can use letter of credit process as it is. Whatever happens in the outside of the SAP, you can your SAP GTS take the same process and support the exporters or the importers. So these are the major benefits of SAP GTS implementation for any company. And now actually I would like to stop at this moment. And any doubts before we?
Yeah, Venkat, one question. Hello?
Tell me, Ashish.
Yeah, in this slide we have particularly mentioned SAP GRC Global Trade Services, but GRC stands for Global Risk Compliance, right?
Yes, I mean governance, risk and compliance.
Yeah, governance, risk and compliance. So this benefits applies for both, or just for the GRC or global?
No, it's only for these benefits only applies for GTC. The reason for considering GRC is basically GRC is very high level term, which is having different modules. If you look at GRC very high level, it is having global trade services. It is also having access control. It is also having security control. It also having one more. There are 4 modules involving in the GRC. But out of 4 modules, SAP GTS is one of the modules which supports both inbound supply chain or an outbound inbound shipments or outbound shipments as part of our export business or the import business. You don't need to worry about other modules. You are not concerned about it.
Okay, so it's a kind of a sub-module.
Sub-module. How SAP APO is having 4 modules like GATP, Global Availability to Promise, or SNP, Supply Network Planning, or PPDS, Production Planning and Detailed Scheduling, or Demand Planning. In the similar way, the GRC is also having different modules. So one of the modules which we are intended to learn is GTS.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for participating. Please call me or send a mail if you have any clarifications or the doubts. So I can send you mail about next class. Okay. Probably we will not have class on Saturday and Sunday. we may have we will be having class from the Monday onwards. Okay.
Venkat, can you just call me? Hello, Venkat.
Ashish, tell me, Ashish.
Yeah, can you just call me after some time? We'll have a. I just need to talk to you for 5-10 minutes. Is it fine?
If you don't mind, can I call you tomorrow? Because actually, I need to take the I'm going to continue the class for the next batch.
Okay, no issues.
So I will be calling you tomorrow morning.
Okay, no issues. That is fine.
Okay,
Chale.
okay, Ashish.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Venkat, next class is on Monday, right?
Yes, and I will also send a mail. Okay, I will also communicate about the timing. I will send a communication about the timings. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Venkat.
Venkat,
Okay.
please remember me also.
Sure, Bala. Actually,
Bala,
because of the email, I just confused a couple of times, but now onwards I will start sending the communication.
yeah, okay, Venkat. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Murali, Pallab, and all our regular batch, what I am going to do, I need to disconnect this because for the recording purpose, I will be connecting in 1 or 2 minutes. Okay. So I'm disconnect the meeting for 1 minute, and I will be connecting in the second minute. Okay.
Okay.